Historian Yuval Noah Harari observes that humans dominate the planet because we can cooperate in massive numbers. This coordination happens because millions of strangers can all choose to believe in the same shared story. Every morning, you participate in this massive web of cooperation. The money in your bank account, the laws of your city, the structure of your career. None of these exist as physical laws of nature. They function purely because a vast collective of people has silently agreed to treat these concepts as real. For most of our lives, we remain comfortably immersed in this arrangement. We go through our routines, celebrate social milestones, and defer to authority figures without ever needing to inspect the underlying code that keeps the entire system running. Our daily experience, then, resembles a highly coordinated theatrical performance. Everyone knows their lines and hits their marks, completely unaware that they are actors standing on a constructed stage. But then, something happens. It might be a historical fact that contradicts everything you learned in school, or a quiet realization about how human psychology actually dictates your choices. In an instant, a piece of that constructed stage collapses into dust. The veil drops, exposing the artificial nature of a belief you've held since childhood. And once you see the strings controlling the mechanics of your world, you cannot unsee them. There is no path back to that previous state of comfortable ignorance. The immediate consequence is a profound, aching sense of isolation. You look around and realize the rest of society is still performing the play. They continue having the same superficial conversations and engaging in the same social rituals, entirely unbothered by the reality you have just discovered. If you try to point out the strings to the other actors, the reaction is rarely gratitude. People have deep emotional investments in your fictions. Questioning those structures usually triggers defensive hostility or complete misunderstanding. Your newfound clarity traps you. You possess an understanding that dictates how the world actually operates, yet you find yourself entirely alone in a crowded room, unable to speak the language everyone else is using. You are now experiencing double consciousness, the requirement to mentally inhabit two contradictory realities at exactly the same time. On the surface, you still need to survive. You have to pay rent, hold down a job, and maintain relationships. So you participate. You smile in meetings, follow expected conversational norms, and navigate standard social hierarchies. Yet deep down, a background process is constantly running. Beneath every interaction, you are involuntarily analyzing the power dynamics at play, the subtle cultural manipulations, and the constructed nature of the values driving the people around you. You become an anthropologist, observing your own culture from the outside, while remaining physically trapped inside it. This dual existence demands an enormous amount of continuous psychological energy. This constant meta-analysis creates a paralyzing distance. You are always watching yourself participate, which strips away the joy of immediate, unthinking experience. Historically, this isolating burden was a rare affliction.
It was a condition largely reserved for a handful of mystics, scientists, and philosophers like Nietzsche, who wrote about the immense weight of carrying truths that few were prepared to hear. Today, the internet has democratized access to the raw data of reality. Anyone with curiosity can instantly explore the psychological mechanisms of their mind, the hidden origins of political institutions, and systems-level incentives driving the economy. Because of this mass access, we now have an entire generation of people carrying complex insights that our current social structures simply weren't built to accommodate. And the cost of trying to ignore these insights is severe. Harari himself has noted that his greatest regret was living for years in denial of his own sexuality. He maintained a comfortable illusion, but the internal pain of hiding that truth was devastating. Whether we are looking at the trajectory of an entire civilization or the quiet struggles of a single individual, the agonizing weight of denying reality is always heavier than the initial shock of facing it. Here lies the central paradox of this awakening. The exact same knowledge that isolates you is the only viable mechanism for your actual liberation. The prolonged suffering doesn't come from the cold facts of reality. It comes from your resistance to those facts. It stems from a stubborn nostalgia for the lost simplicity of the fictions you used to believe. The philosophical answer to this resistance is a concept called Amor Fati. This is the radical, active acceptance of reality exactly as it is, fully embracing the disturbing and flawed aspects of human existence without looking away. We see this mirrored in the Buddhist tradition of the Bodhisattva. This is the archetype of an individual who sees straight through the illusions, yet consciously chooses to remain in the flawed world to help others navigate their own paths of understanding. When you stop fighting the fact that illusions exist, you immediately free up immense psychological energy. Instead of burning out in resentment, you can direct that energy toward creative, conscious participation in the world. Your isolation begins to transform into a melancholic joy. You can look at the deep flaws and fictions of human systems and yet still find immense beauty in their complexity. This mature perspective replaces resentment with tenderness. You can observe someone who still completely believes in societal narratives, and rather than judging them, you can genuinely admire the innocence and courage required to live fully within those fictions. You return to the rituals of society, but this time, intentionally. You participate because you recognize the genuine value in how these shared stories create human connection, even while acknowledging the arbitrary nature of the performance. Truth operates as a continuous, dynamic process. The clarity you have today reveals new layers of complexity tomorrow, requiring a constant openness to different ways of seeing the world. An uncomfortable awakening provides the foundation for stepping onto the stage with eyes wide open, the prerequisite for a truly mature, authentic, and compassionate life.